if the search, if the spiritual search isn't taking you deeper and deeper and deeper, then you've either found yourself on a ledge somewhere in the falling into the great unknown, and that ledge has become some kind of safety place, some kind of resting place in some ways, or else there's fear of what's next, of how deep this goes into your existence, into the very fabric of your life, into the very meaning of your life, into the very essence of your life, into the unknown, in fact. And you know, that ledge that you might fall and stop on, I know these ledges, you know, they can be the place of great rest or recalibration, as so much has already been surrendered on the path. So much has already been experienced, felt, realized on the path. And so there's nothing innately wrong in resting somewhere. But the difference between resting somewhere and digging in with a set of beliefs, you know, that is it, and that's as far as I can go, is a great error on the spiritual path. Because, and this is what I'm trying to say, if the spiritual path isn't taking you into the desert, and by the desert I mean the unknown, then it's falling short, then it's stopping short somewhere, then it's not really the real essence, the real thing. You know, we have to be really careful with ourselves and ask what we have to be really careful with ourselves and ask what it is that we really want. Are we seeking security in a spiritual sense? Are we seeking community in a spiritual sense? Are we seeking a better resting place for ourselves than the habitual old resting place that we found that was extremely uncomfortable in the small self, in the ego self, in the agitated self? And are we seeking some kind of comfort in the spiritual, in the spiritual life? And in essence, there's nothing wrong with that, but we have to get truthful about what it is that we really want. And there's a deeper and deeper intelligence involved in that. To get real wise with yourself, to get very, very honest with yourself. This is a call to that inner honesty. Because if it's truth you want, if it's the deepest that you really want, if you really want to go and go and go and go, then you will never stop on any ledge. You will never stop on any grasping. You will never stop at any belief. You will never stop at any idea of what anything looks like, including spirituality. This has come up a bit recently in our meetings, in our gatherings, in my one-to-ones as well. You know, the spiritual path, if that's what you want, if you want it to not just be a palliative for the human condition, but to see what underpins the human condition, what's underneath, what's inside, what's the essence of us. Not in a mental, non-dual understanding, but actually really in the mystical kind of ever-deepening, mystical, non-dual self-realization way, then you have to go all the way. And that all the way isn't a destination. That all the way is a constant falling, a constant surrendering of all beliefs, the constant willingness to show up again and again and again, but not showing up with something, showing up with nothing, showing up empty, showing up willing, showing up humble, showing up as the fire in the fire, showing up and not knowing, just simply not knowing. I don't know. But that connects, that not knowing connects something deep down. You have to go into the desert, my friend. The desert is inside. The desert is within. It can be replicated by going into the desert outside, as some have done. I've been, into the wilderness myself. I've been on a mountain all night where I sat vigil in the darkest night. Very scary, very lonely place in the middle of Wales once, and sat as a night vigil while the darkness came and I was alone with myself and the shadows and the unknown and the mystery. In that place there weren't any predators in the sense of, wolves or bears or snakes or anything, so one has to take care, but I did it. And then to see the beginnings of the dawn as it comes, and the waking up of life as it comes. And it was a profound experience for me. I spent the night in a dark cave under a waterfall, 100-foot cave right at the bottom, where I lit a little candle and kept that all night. And although these things sound like nothing, they become everything, because at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, in the sheer darkness of isolation, 10, 20, 30 miles away from the nearest human being, isolated, alone, something happens. Something deep happens. Something is known. Some intimacy with existence happens. The self falls away. All of its tactics fall away or are seen. Something deep happens. Some deeper intimacy, which is just profound. But not profound in a mental understanding way, profound in a deeply existential way. A way that opens the door to something. One can only really call it love, but love doesn't have a name. Love doesn't have a description, this kind of love, because it is the essence. It is the realization. But don't imagine that it's got any real name, any real description. It's only a knowing, an intimate knowing of the self with the no self, of the self as it falls and merges into beingness, into the essence. So ask yourself what it is that you really want and be true to that. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter really, ultimately. We're all held by the same hand. But for the purposes of the spiritual journey, you've got to be prepared to let go of the ledge that you might be standing on. And if you're not standing on any ledge, then keep on falling. Fall and fall and fall and fall and fall. Because by and by that falling just becomes the way. The unknown, the essence, the mystery, the great mystery that is existence itself. Bless you.